Kidnapped, walking the scene with you in old flicks from the 90s. So keen, the VHS Club, they're the talk of the town. Breaking it down, spreading nostalgia all around. Moving and grooving to the synth pop sound. Their insight is so fresh, painting pictures profound. From Pulp Fiction to Clueless, they know it all. The genuine love for movies stands tall. Unfolding memories on that VHS screen, talking about classics like you've never seen. Katie with her charm, Matt with that wit. Together they make the VHS Club legit.
Welcome back to the VHS Club. I am so excited to be here tonight with Kathy, who has convinced us all to watch Hope Floats again. So we are diving into a drama, which hilariously I just had a conversation with friends of mine who admitted that they have just like stopped watching dramas because they no longer want to be sad. And I was like, yes, I should do that. And then Kathy was like, let's watch Hope Floats. And I was like, absolutely. So
I say it has some rom-com elements.
It does.
But it is more drama comedy.
It's a drama. It's almost a coming of age story for adults. It's an adult coming of age story. That is where
There you go.
that is where I would put it. No, all jokes aside, I'm so glad that you chose this one because it's one that I don't think I've seen in a really long time. And it was like just a really wonderful rewatching experience. So the absolute perfect pick for this week. So I was delighted to watch it. But first off, welcome back to the VHS Club. I'm so happy to have you as my co-host tonight. How's everything been?
So glad to be back. And I love tuning in and kind of reflecting on some of these movies, and I'm always excited. I hope this is one that Val may have seen, but that's the barometer of all movies is, has Val seen it?
Has Val seen it? Our weekly club question is, Val, have you seen this movie? Let us know in the comments. And if you're brand new and you're wondering what the heck, we record this show live most Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. So we have some live studio audience members with us, including Val, who is often admitting that she has not seen this one. Josh has also not seen this one, so he's ready for us.
Well, we have one Josh has not seen.
Yeah, we're ready to wow Josh with everything. I had this really wonderful experience this morning where I was a guest on a podcast, mostly for work for my full-time gig at Ecamm, but she was asking a couple questions about the VHS Club, and it never ceases to amaze me how much of a connection point movies are, and what movies people like connect with, and what bits of movies they want to share, and the nostalgia that's tied up in it. So it just, I don't know, it energized me and it got me really excited for tonight because it is really cool what movies do to us. Like
there's such a great connection with the film. And again, for my brother and I with our podcast, it kind of grew out of growing up latchkey kids and watching these movies and watching them over and over again to the point where we knew all the lines, kind of like you and that, and had these memories that go with the movies as well, because you remember where you were or who you were with. Or I remember the first rated R film I saw was Saturday Night Fever, and it was one that we had to sneak in to get because we were not old enough to actually watch the film. So it's just a great, rich history with movies. And it was something that my family and I even did together. And I go back to the drive-in days.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
driving movie old, not just, Saturday afternoon at the mall movie old. I'm that old too, but I go
I'm
way back.
I'm a little bit of both. I was lucky enough to grow up like in in a bigger city, but we definitely
Mm.
when we were out, Nat has this like wonderful cottage that's outside of Montreal, and so like that whole community, sort of the in the country outside the city spaces, they always had like at least one drive-in theater, and
Oh,
the yeah,
nice.
the feeling of being in a drive-in theater. I'm gonna have to find one somewhere around us to be able to take my kids. We were talking about that the other night. Because in this movie they have like a scene where they are at they're at a drive-in theater. It's not
They
they're not
are,
watching a movie, but they're but they're there
but they're at
at the
right.
theater, and so yeah, it definitely came up. Well, let's jump into this one. Are you up for being Nat tonight and giving us the synopsis of this one? I know you know it.
The
So
synopsis of this one, I know I do know it because I actually did three rewatches
love it.
this week just to make sure everything was fresh in my mind. And this is a story, and I kind of put it in my mother-daughter category of movies that explores relationships primarily between mothers and daughters. But it all starts with Birdie, who is surprised during a very Ricky Lake esque
Yep.
talk show and finds out that her best friend is having an affair with her husband. So she has the opportunity to reinvent herself. So, where do you go when everything is not going well? Well, you always go back home. She goes back home from Chicago to her small town in Smithville, Texas, staying with her mother, rebuilding her life, finding love again, finding herself again, and we get to go along for the ride.
Yeah. It's
I hope I did that.
no, it's fantastic. I wonder if like part of I've always just had this like fondness and love for like for all things southern, and part of me is wondering if like if this movie definitely contributed to that. I mean, I think that there's something wonderful about how like
I think it's that
just
small town feeling
maybe
though,
it's a small
too, that
town thing. Yeah, maybe it's a small
yeah.
town thing. Honestly, I mean, maybe the actors who bring this movie and this story to life are also a huge contributing force to it. But there's something about the quirkiness and the charm and the slowness of the small town, and particularly I think in the South where like I grew up and still I'm like an East Coast girl, and so
Mhm.
the idea of like these huge porches and like sitting around and having tea and like and and just kind of like the openness of everything, I just think is there's a peace and a quiet to that like in addition to just going home, it's like just going to this place of sort of serenity where you can reset, I think is huge.
And I think this film does a nice job of kind of capturing that. And even though it was filmed in this very historic house, but one of the features of it was this double porch. And, just that I think that is it with Southern living. It's that porch
Oh,
life.
it's the porch
I think
life.
the
I want
whole
the
thing with
porch
the
life.
notebook is,
Yeah.
you know what? You would have wound up with Noah anyway because he had that huge house with the gorgeous porch.
True. I'm always going to end up with whoever has the porch in the end. That is so true. Well, I have so we should go through kind of actually let's start here. So I gave you open book on like any movie you could pick, and I know we've already done a couple of your favorites, but what
Yes.
drew you to wanting to rewatch this one and talk about this one?
Oh, wow. You know what? Of all the celebrities, and I like a lot of different celebrities, I am a Sandra Bullock fan. I don't know. I the way I said that didn't sound convincing, but of
You-
all the celebrities
You're not
that
alone.
I see in different movies, she just seems like a good one to go have a beer with.
She really
I don't
does.
know. I
Yeah.
just give that impression of her. I don't, you know what? I can't see me drinking beer with, Angelina Jolie. I like some of her roles, but there is, like you said, the characters, the performances in this movie. I just thought it would make a perfect fit for, again, this podcast. And I know it's 90s and a lot of the movies focused on the 80s, but you've done some of my favorite 80s movies already, like Fame, like Better Off Dead, when Kenny and I were on. But there is I don't know, just a charm and a warmth I think that Sandra Bullock gives off that is enjoyable to watch. And I also don't know how many people have seen this movie, and I think it was worth a watch. I know it made about 81 million at the box office, which I don't think is big. I think it's one that got the rewatch through cable,
Mm.
but it's one that I think a lot of people might have missed. And I just think Jenna Rollins and just gives a stellar performance. So I'm hoping to show it some love. So maybe a few more people will check it out. And you can watch it now on Hulu. So that's
Yeah. Yeah,
one nice thing.
it was definitely it's readily accessible if you're in the States, and I'm willing to bet probably accessible through Disney Plus if you're in Canada. So definitely one that's easy
Oh,
to get
okay.
your hands on. It's funny. I completely agree with you. There's been something about Sandra Bullock from the moment she stepped out on the screen in virtually everything she's in. And I do think that there's like a girl next door warmth and comfort to her, and she brings it into
Yes.
every role that she's in. I absolutely I can't think of a movie I don't like that she's in. Like even if it's a terrible movie, there's just something about her that I haven't seen Speed 2, so I guess technically Speed 2 could be
Yes.
the one that
Speed 2, I think I missed, but I think she agreed to do Speed 2
yeah.
in order to launch her production company, Fortress Films,
Yeah.
which this is the first foray for
Yeah.
Fortress Films. So sometimes you got to make those sacrifices, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
wasn't interested in a Speed without Keanu. So I there's a whole I know you guys use taters and Christian Slater is
We should
the
use
tater king, but
Keanu
mine
Tots.
would definitely be in Keanu's.
I love it. Oh, well, I'm not far off actually. I feel like the two of them, at least in my mind, are pretty close. I think Nat is more of a Christian Tater person, but I'm pretty close to Keanu myself.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I think again, I think like this movie works on so many levels for me. So if for those of you who have not yet seen this, I would really encourage people to check it out or to give it a rewatch. It it sets a tone and a mood across the board, like, and a lot of it is as is the acting, as we've said, but also the music and the soundtrack in this is phenomenal. Like it really fits
Yes.
it fits the whole tone of the movie. It fits the small town that it's in. It takes you to right into that headspace. I think it does a really fantastic job. Harry Connick Jr. is fantastic in this as well. Like, and I don't think he has done a ton of movies, has he?
I don't think so. He was in one of those action movies. I know we were talking about uh Independence Day. Was it Armageddon? It seems like he was in one of those
Yeah.
action movies. And I know I see Mr. Moderator Paul is in the chat and
He can
he's
fact
good
check
at the
us.
lookup.
Yeah.
But I think yes, he was in Independence Day. I could be wrong. But we haven't seen him on the screen of late. But again, in some of the research when I was reading, it seems like from this film, Sandra Bullock again wanted him. She's like he nailed it in the audition, and he's even said in interviews that some 30 odd years later they are still friends and talk and communicate when they can. So
I think that's really fantastic. Well, I know you set us up to talk about mothers and daughters, so let's kick off maybe with Birdie and Bernice first, because I think we
yeah,
were chatting before we jumped on about how just all things Mae Whitman. So Mae Whitman plays
May Whitman.
plays the daughter in this, and you many of us may remember her. She was in Independence Day. She's in Arrested Development, if you're a fan of that show, and an insane amount of other things as well in between. But she brings
Good girls. Yeah.
such an honesty to this role, and such a like, it's so real. Like, I love that they didn't gloss over anything. Like, I feel like her feelings as a kid in the middle of watching her parents go through this incredibly public divorce is exactly what I would imagine that experience to be like. I'm personally not a child of divorce, but like the anger and the like and the blame and just the feelings that are wrapped up in this child just are so real and so raw, and she plays it so beautifully.
So well. And you know what? And one thing I always say, it's so weird. I say I hate musicals and I hate child actors. So for me, Annie would be torture. But there are some child actors or some performers who just emote just so well, and you lose. I hate those. I guess a lot of times with sitcom child actors, sometimes it seems so forced
Yeah.
and fake. But yes, the emotion that this child just exudes is it's worth the watch, and you feel for her. And like you said, again, my parents, they're about to celebrate their 62nd
Wow.
wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
So again, I wouldn't know that experience, but again, what she brings to that role and that one scene, I just and the other thing we do have to talk about at some point are some of the guest appearances or the people that we do see in this movie. Because in the beginning, and we only see them at the beginning, we see Kathy Najimy,
Mhm.
who I absolutely love. And I don't know, there was a show called The Kathy and Mo Show, I think during the late 80s, early 90s. And I actually got to meet Kathy Najimy, and I
Did you?
was wearing this uh, blazer I had that was just like fancy design or whatever. Because I was actually out to see a show she produced, off Broadway show about Burt Bacharach and his music.
I love
And I
it.
did not know he wrote. There's always something there to remind me, but again, useless trivia. That's my forte. In any case, I met her, and and she's like, "Oh, I like that jacket. I had a jacket like that once, and I lost it at an airport." And I'm like, "Oh, wow. You know what? I found this at an airport." We had a laugh. We had a moment. And
That's
also
incredible.
Rosanna Arquette
Yeah.
of Toto's Rosanna fame,
Mhm.
as well as you guys did Streets of Fire
Mhm.
about a month or so ago, and lo and behold, Michael
Yeah.
Pare is in there as the dad. But that scene where he comes and she wants to go with him, and she's just, oh, if you do not cry during that scene, something's wrong with you.
I know. I might cry
I'll,
during
I'll
I
just
might
say
cry
it.
during this episode. It's funny that like I'm a sucker for a love story, like all the way through. I am totally a like Romeo and Juliet, Jane Austen, like classic timeless love story
Uh,
person. And
oh
yet
yeah.
in this movie, which definitely has a love story, I am much more like emotional and captivated by the stories, between Sandra Bullock and her father and her mother and her
Oh
child. And like it's not that I think that the love story in this is great, but it's almost
yeah.
secondary really for me to just like the experiences she's going through, and like and how she's going to come out on the other side, and
That's why
and
it's probably more a coming of age movie
yeah.
than a rom-com, because even though, I mean, the love interest is there, and it feels like there's definitely a chemistry there. That's why I'm surprised that I haven't seen them paired up, a, again.
Yeah.
Um, and that they haven't made another movie, or not that this movie needs a sequel, it doesn't, but
Mm-mm.
I'm surprised we don't see them together again.
Yeah. Did you find, so I will say in like rewatching it, there were a couple of moments where I almost wanted the love story between them to be moving a little bit slower. Like there were there were moments where I just felt so protective of Birdee's character where I was like, let's give this woman a break for a second here. Like she literally gets
Exactly.
ripped apart on public TV. She's like expecting to go there for a makeover. She finds out her husband's cheating on her with her best friend. She like drives back to this small town where she's like left in glory. Like she was like the, most famous person in
She
the
was cream of
town. She
corn.
was cream of corn. She was like the prom queen, the
Right,
everything.
exactly.
She left this
But
town.
when her line is, her and Bill, he was like the quarterback. She's like,
Yeah.
they practically left town on a float.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
practically, and so like that even in itself, like every single thing that she has to go through by itself would be a lot. Like
Mhm.
dealing with, infidelity and having your closest friend involved in it, like that in itself is huge. Even just having to go back to like your hometown in like under the not the guise of, but like in kind of this it's experience of failure. Like you're being forced to come back home and kind of figure things out is already bad enough, but doing that when everyone has like a really like
With the public
clear.
eye on you, because everybody has
Yeah.
seen, this public humiliation, and she's got to start all over again. And usually with a breakup, you know, there's always going to be the rebound guy. So you like Justin and you want him to be
Yeah.
the long-term guy. So yeah,
Yeah, that maybe
I
that's
see
what
what
I
you
struggled with. Like
that I see what you mean. Yeah.
he was just like there, and clearly they had this past, and like obviously her mother was, matchmaking and trying to push them together, and it makes a great story for everything
Hmm.
else that's going on. Like it helps her kind of, connect with her daughter and her daughter to process what's going on. It helps her with like in some ways with a connection point with her mother, and it's the one person she can kind of talk to that's not immediately in her family. But then there were
Hmm.
moments where I was just like, oh man, like, she just got back and she's so broken right now. And he's like, like right there, like in these like romantic moments. And I was like, she's not ready to be kissing anyone. Like, you need to give her a break for a
It's
minute.
too
It's
soon.
too soon. It's too
You
soon.
need to heal.
Yeah.
No,
Which I'm
but
normally not that person. I'm normally like, kiss her, kiss her. But I don't know, I was protective of her in this movie. I kind of, in some ways I was like, oh, slow down a little bit.
maybe the point is that Justin probably was the one she should have left town
Yeah.
on the float with.
Yeah.
Because even when he left town, he kind of came back with his own little bit of disgrace, or
Yeah.
not making it or cutting it in LA as an architect, or his big plans.
Yeah. Yeah, and the one thing about his character that I really really love is that I love the scene, and it's just like representative of his entire character, but I love the scene. So tons of spoilers if you're here and you're not expecting
Oh
spoilers.
yes,
But
I'm
tons of
sorry if you
spoilers.
haven't seen Hope Floats. We are going to spoil.
But the mother dies like near the end of the movie, and so like as if things couldn't possibly get any worse for Birdie, Sandra Bullock's character. Like she finally has this moment of reconnecting with her mother in like a really pure and wonderful way, and she's like closer than ever with her daughter, and she's just having like these really kind of moments. And then her mother passes away, and her ex-husband comes back and is causing all kinds of issues. And there's this really beautiful moment where Justin comes in, and instead of going in and like kind of being in her face and being kind of the, moving towards being the boyfriend and having these like
Hmm.
moments, he sits out on the porch, because the porch,
Oh, yeah.
with her nephew, who is this like lonely, sad, like isolated child who the grandmother meant everything to, like was basically the person raising him, and
His caregiver. Mm.
exactly, and has this whole conversation with him, and just like goes out of his way to make this child feel better and feel loved and feel seen. And I think like that is really, I'm hoping and I assume is like the point in so many ways of his character, is that he's helping Birdie feel seen. He's helping,
Seen.
and so like
Well, he
it kind
says
of
that to her too,
reconnected.
that Bill didn't
Yeah,
see all the things that were great about you, and she even says that she changed who she was, to be pleasing to her husband, who again is cheating on her
yeah,
in her own home
yeah,
with her best friend. Oh.
yeah, yeah. So
But
I love
that
that.
scene with the and I can't even think of the kid's name, uh the cousin
Yeah. Travis?
Travis.
Yeah, I think is the kid's
I
name
think
in the
it's okay,
movie.
Travis. Mhm.
I'm probably wrong
And,
because I'm always wrong.
listen to me. This is old age speaking. When I've seen the movie 3 times this week, and I'm like, what was that kid's? Oh, Travis. That's right.
We'll just refer to him as the child.
The child.
But yeah.
But and that's the other thing too. Like I guess she has a sister, and even the sister didn't come back for the mother's funeral. So
Yeah.
to me, there was a story there that I was always kind of curious about. It's like one of those kind of loose ends. Why they have that sticking out there? But
Yeah, it is interesting because you're right. Like that story doesn't really hit in any way until I think that moment where
mm,
I just like it really hit me how alone he was in that
right.
situation. It's like, Birdie and Bernice have
But
each other. And it's not that, I mean,
it
obviously
makes all his other behaviors make sense
yeah,
with the imitating animals or
yeah.
mocking Birdie and just you know and again he did get the cute kid lines too.
I guess he's a good like counterpart to Bernice, so to be able to like, have someone to go to school with and look out for her and be part of that story. Yeah. So I don't know if I have a favorite scene, but I have a couple. So I have that one, and then the other scene, which I think is also your favorite, we were talking earlier about it, is the moment where, so as we said, and poor Val is crying over yes, the mother dies. We're so sorry, Val. This is lots of crying in this movie.
Oh, I'm sorry, Val.
Yeah, there's lots of crying in this
Wait,
movie.
Val has not seen this one either.
No,
Oh, come on, Val.
yeah, still
So,
watch it because it's so good. Even though you know this now,
yes,
it's so good.
there,
But
there are quotes that are just gems.
oh, just total gems. I love this moment where, again, like Birdie, which is played by Sandra Bullock, her character is like at the lowest possible moment. Her mother has just died. Her like jackass of of a about to be ex-husband comes back into town, which delights her daughter who just wants a father and just wants to escape and go back to her old life. And he's really only there on the day of her mother's funeral to tell her that he wants a divorce and he's still leaving her for her best friend, and like to reconfirm everything that she's been trying to deal with. And then there's this like incredible heart, like gut-wrenching moment where
Gut
he goes
wrenching,
to
yes.
leave, and like and they're fighting and he leaves, and the daughter like grabs all of her stuff and is going to go with him. And I love this scene for a few different reasons. Mae Whitman is incredible in it. She like, I mean, the acting in this
Agreed.
child. She runs out, she's hysterical. She's putting her suitcase in the trunk. He's taking it out. You just feel like such pain for this child. But in the background of that scene, Sandra Bullock as a mother is sitting there and she's allowing it to happen so that her daughter can have some semblance of closure, so that she can force her ex-husband to like to go through that process and like and really appreciate like this is what you're doing, like that this is.
Hmm.
And she could have run over and grabbed her in that moment and hugged her and told her that like, no, I love you and I'm here for you, and like, and and she could have made a scene of it, and she doesn't. She sits there and watches her daughter be destroyed by this man. And it like and then she does afterwards, like after he leaves, she goes and like shows her all of the love. But it's heart wrenching. I'm shaking even
That
thinking it's such a good scene.
I that scene to me, and again to people who want to kind of write Sandra Bullock off as, oh, she's not serious, without any words, and just there was just a presence to that scene, and again, Mae Whitman is
Oh,
just unbelievable, and just like I'm thinking somebody probably told this child her dog died because
seriously.
those tears
Hopefully
just
she's
felt
okay.
so
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
like,
she
they pinched that kid to
screams.
make her just scream, and she just calmly just walks, picks her up, takes her back. It's yeah, okay. I'm not gonna cry on your
I know, yeah. I'm
podcast.
sorry. I'm sorry. We're both gonna cry. So was that
I'm
your
not gonna get
favorite,
all
or
teary.
was there another one that was equal to it in the movie? Anything else that really stood out as just like incredible, incredible scenes?
That's my favorite scene. That's the scene to watch for when you watch this movie. Um, that yeah, that scene's everything. And again, in contrast to also the scene with Travis and Justin
Mm-hmm.
and just Harry Connick Jr. You can't, don't underestimate him because
No.
uh, his performance in this movie, I think, is standout
Mm-hmm.
and it's subtle. And like you said, I see your point. Oh yeah, he's moving in too fast, but he has some good lines. But that little scene he has where the kid goes, "Everybody's inside. Don't you want to go inside?" He goes, "Oh no,
No,
don't you
I'm here
get
for
it?
you. Yeah.
I'm here for you." And I'm like,
I know you're like,
oh, it's just so okay.
yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna cry.
No, yeah, I'm with you. I think those are definitely my two favorite moments. And I really,
Okay.
there are a million, obviously, like throughout the movie. Oh, Kathy, hang in there.
I'm getting off the clipped. No,
Oh, yeah. It's,
no. Yeah, there are a lot of great scenes. And that's another thing too, that hopefully if you do catch this movie, if you don't rent it or see it on Disney Plus or Hulu, because when it is aired on TV, they do make cuts for time. And one of the things that gets cut is the scenes with the father, who has Alzheimer's, and
oh,
you
really?
see him in the
Interesting.
scene where they go visit him, and then you see another scene where Birdie goes to visit him alone, and again just touching moments. And even though the focus I think for this film is the mother-daughter relationship between the mother and Birdie and Birdie and Bernice, but I think those moments too resonate with folks, especially as we get older and dealing with parents who are older. So
I, I think watching this movie this time around, in addition to the scenes we just talked about, but the one that hit me the most after those two is there's, so she goes back home and she's with this very eccentric mother who is
mm.
played brilliantly, like who like wakes her up with vacuuming and tells her, like, the first moment she sees her, she's like, asks
You've
if
been
she's been
drinking?
drinking. Like everyone like is basically like, that's what you look like right now, why are you wearing that? Like it's very like, it's like judgy, but in a way to try to get her out of this slump. And it, like, there's so much love in it and so much humor in it, but is like this difficult eccentric woman. And throughout the entire movie you learn that she has this like history with her mother where she's been, slightly embarrassed about her and slightly, and has had a difficult relationship with her all the way through. And after that scene that you were just talking about, where Birdie goes back and sees her father, she has this moment where, she says that she went to go see dad, and the mother's like, "Oh, you always were, your father's daughter, or kind of a
Mm.
daddy's girl." And she basically says back that like she's also her mother's daughter. And that hit me really hard this time around, because like I definitely grew up as being like a daddy's girl. I am much closer, like traditionally I've always been much closer with my father in personality and in kind of like interests and things that I do than I was with my mother. But the older I get, the more I just like crave spending time with my mom. Like there's just something about like an adult connection with your mother that I think is really special. Not that I love my dad any less, but like that line just hit me where I was just like, oh man,
Wow.
it would be like, I have a daughter, and it like who is like inseparable with me right now, and the idea that we will definitely go through some period of time where she's gonna probably be closer with my husband than with me, and she's gonna fight with me over all different kinds of stuff.
How far
That
is
hit
she away
me.
from seventh grade?
Not that far. She's 10 right now, but she's 10 who sounds like she's 16. So
As a person with 23 years of experience in middle school, just brace yourself for seventh grade.
okay,
That's
deal.
all I
My
can tell
son's
you.
in seventh grade right now,
And
so
you
I
know
feel
what?
it
You,
deeply.
you are not going to know. They are not going to know,
Yeah.
but you'll be introduced to a new and different person. So just
Mhm.
brace yourself.
Yeah. Well, that
I
one
say this
scene
after
hit me.
spending a day on a field trip with sixth graders. So
You're in that space. Yeah, I have
I'm in that
my
space.
son is 13 and is in seventh grade, and he
Oh,
definitely
okay.
I'm feeling that with him. But yeah, there was that moment, I think, was, I don't know, it was just a second in the movie, and it wasn't even like it had as much of an impact as a lot of the other scenes, but there was just something in that line where I was just like, oh, like there's like hurt and time and feelings that are all caught up in that, in just like the connections in the relationship and how family works together. And this movie just does a really beautiful job of telling like complicated stories, and it's pretty poignant in how it does it.
And I think that could be attributed to the fact that it's directed by an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we mentioned Forrest Whitaker
Mm-hmm.
was the director. I believe this was his third film
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that he directed, but maybe having an actor as a director
Mm-hmm.
gives the actors even a little more space to kind of explore characters, because I felt like there was time spent on backstory and that just things with this relationship that we don't get to see, but that I'm sure the actors probably worked on in rehearsal to get the performances that we got, because there was just such a subtle connection with the characters that to me makes this movie worth the watch, because you forget about that it is Sandra Bullock. It's Birdee. It's
Mm-hmm.
Birdee dealing with her daughter Bernice. It's Birdee dealing with her mom. You just get caught up in their world. But I think perhaps having an actor as a director gives the actors on set probably that kind of freedom to explore character, to kind of really dig into it and get the performances that we get.
Yeah. I think you're right. I would say the only thing that I didn't love in the direction of this movie were the slow-mo scenes. but
Okay,
that must have been like
I'm so glad you
90s
said that,
thing.
because on my rewatch when she's when was it the after she got drunk? I can't remember what, but I
He
saw
did it
like
like
a bunch.
3 or 4 times. The last one was when she was sitting outside of the door listening to her mother talk with Bernice. But it happens
Mhm.
like I think 3 or 4 times in the movie, and every time I was like, "Oh, we get it. She's like remembering herself as a child. We don't need the slow mo. We understand."
Oh, well, and again, one of them I think was a vanity slow-mo when she was looking out at the
Yeah.
people practicing on the field at the high
Yeah.
school, and then she envisioned herself as a cheerleader
Yeah.
doing that like
Oh yeah.
ridiculous, you know, jump split. And I imagine Sandra Bullock probably was a cheerleader, so it's like, okay, we don't need to really see you do that in slow-mo.
Yeah, we also know that if she's come back to this town, and we already know at that point that she was like a cheerleader and like a big deal at the school, like you looking at the
Right.
cheerleader is enough. We don't need anything past that. We can make that connection. Yeah, I think that was honestly my only complaint about this movie was those couple of moments where I was just like, oh, that. And I guess, and it's funny, I read this actually in a review. I was reading through just like, some people's reviews on this movie, and there was one that made this comment about the fact that, she's going back to this small town and everyone like remembers her in a certain way, and like given that they all, like literally everyone in this small town watched her like very public breakup on TV, they give her no mercy whatsoever. It's like they're, they are not even the least bit kind or like even
Or right, compassionate,
or
like
compassionate, like all of them. Like, and I know that, they had that moment where she goes to find a job and her, like, one of the women she went to high school with who she was mean to, like, is now in charge of helping people. And so like, I get that, but like literally everyone has this like expectation and no one gives her even an inch. Like there's no point where it's like, yeah, it's probably okay that she looks a mess. She literally is like
Right,
rebuilding her
right.
life. Nope. They're just gonna hold her to some standard that doesn't actually exist anywhere.
Yeah, there's not a lot of empathy in Smithville
No,
for the small town. Nice porches, but not a lot of empathy. That
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
because
other than Justin, not a single person gives her any kind of empathy whatsoever. Oh,
they all again they all remember who she was and they all know what happened to her, but you're right, she doesn't get a lot of empathy.
no. I mean, yeah, it's yeah. We should talk. So I think my favorite minor character in this movie is the old man that owns the photo processing
The Photoshop.
lab.
I thought you were gonna say the Photoshop. And for these pictures of a certain nature, we keep them in this fold. We make a copy. keep them in this folder. I'm like, okay.
I was watching, so I
You can't
started.
have a small town without a perv.
Oh yeah,
No.
no, exactly. It's so funny. So I was watching this with my daughter who's 10, and she looked at me like the second that scene was over, and she was like, "Why would he keep the naked pictures? That's gross." I was like, "Yes, that is gross." Like, doesn't miss a moment. I was just like, "Yep, yep, that's the point. That's gross." But he's kind of, I have to say, like, he's probably the most endearing of the like judgy townspeople. He does give her way more of a break than most other people, given how terrible she is at that job.
Oh, and another minor character that I kind of liked, Big Dolores.
Big Dolores. Yeah. She was
And her
another one my
gang.
daughter had
Her
issues
gang
with.
was called
Yeah.
Big Dolores.
Big Dolores. Yeah.
That whole family is mean.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's so funny. I like in the kind of the beautiful sad moments of this movie, I think sometimes I forget, like, yeah, there are all these moments of just like relatable like humor that just comes from real life. And yeah, she's a great character. I love that she's the bully and yet is like not who you would imagine or picture as a bully. Like she's not like clearly not the like popular beautiful cheerleader type. She's not
No.
like, she's just commands respect because she's just Big Dolores.
She's Big Dolores, and her gang is called Big Dolores.
Big Dolores. Yeah, she's fantastic. That took me, that scene where she, she gets clocked in the face by a ball from
Oh yeah.
Bernice.
Oh, and the name calling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the
Sorry.
name calling.
That took me back to a sad little place, but
Oh no.
what kid can't relate?
Oh, I will say I can't think of a moment that I had like that kind of experience. I've had like name calling and people like being petty,
Well,
but
yeah.
I've never had like that level.
No, I
of
never got beat
bullying.
up by a bully,
Yeah.
but yeah, I had glasses and braces, so I was.
I wonder how common. So it was funny, and then maybe this is my age or just my lack of experience, but so she was calling her Popeye the entire time, or one of the insults was Popeye, and Scarlett was like, "Why is she calling her Popeye?" And I was like, "I actually don't know." Just like what was the context for that? I got like Four Eyes and like the other
Four Eyes.
derogatory
Oh,
comments,
okay.
but
Oh, you know what? I don't know.
she does call her
'Cause
Popeye.
Popeye didn't have glasses.
Yeah,
Or
that
big
was
eyes.
what I was wondering. I was like, maybe this is something that I'm just missing, or maybe it like
Although that child was wearing some thick glasses.
she was. They were
I will
definitely
say
thick.
that.
They were thick. There's something about
And
a
I'm
little
like,
kid with
because
glasses.
usually, I mean, at least it had glass in it. Because I know for a time, especially on sitcoms and things, they would have actors wearing glasses with no glass
Yeah.
because they couldn't control the glare. So I hope
Yeah.
I'm not giving off too much glare. Um,
Paul says he can relate. Well, I've never had that experience that was that bad, but it made me immediately think of A Christmas Story, where the kids like have the same kind of like chase you down, full gang of kids knock you
Oh,
down
yeah.
and beat you up moments. But
okay. Oh, that was another slow-mo too with with the, walking and all the kids in the back of her and the girl just kept pushing on her and pushing on her. And like, okay, Forrest, you love that slow-mo.
that was probably
That's going to be his signature shot.
that was the only slow mo that I was kind of like, all right, fine, I'll let you have this one. The
Yeah,
other
you
ones
can have
bugged
that
me way
one.
more.
Okay. Well, and again, every director has to have their signature. And
True.
I tell you, I'm so annoyed with Spike Lee because he has that zoom dolly shot that I just had to sit through his movies going, okay, when's it coming? When's it coming? Yeah. Okay, there it is.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely Spike Lee. Michael Bay has his like chase scene where the cars are falling off the truck and the cars are zooming in and out. It's in like at least 3 movies in different ways.
And well, for TV directors, J.J. Abrams, he has to have his plane crash.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just give me, let's get to the plane crash. But yeah, so everybody has their signature. But again, just a lot of little, and for the folks who, since we've told you some major plot points and kind of spoiled it, I don't think we will spoil the fact that there are just some very moving performances,
Hmm.
a lot of just hilarious little quirky lines and scenes and setups that I think will be enjoyable. And it's again, I think well worth the watch. Val, go watch it,
Go
Val.
watch it. Yeah. Yeah, it sets a mood, and it's like it's slow and charming, and it's probably one of the first movies I've watched in a while where like I've gotten into this really bad habit of now I have like my phone with me and I'm like, looking up like actors' names and like figuring out like, so which I like to do, but this one I actually just set it aside. Like I was just in the moment, and it was really nice for it to be kind of this just slow paced like experience. And I am between the the cinematography of it, the music, which again I think is just phenomenal from start to finish.
Oh, there is it's a famous song and they play it in the beginning when they're making the drive from Chicago to Texas, but it's a slowed down version. Baby, baby, I'm aware of where you go. Um,
I'm so bad
I
for
think it's
names.
Stop in the Name of Love, if I'm not sure.
It might be,
But
yeah.
it's, and again, everybody knows the Supremes version. It's a fast version. But this version, it's played, just kind of at this slow pace with the driving from, city escapes to the
Hmm.
sprawl of country and again, part of the appeal of the movie is going down to that small town, like I don't know, movies like Sweet Home Alabama and
Yeah, it made me, yeah, definitely. Every time I watch a movie, it always makes me think of like three or four others I want to watch. And Sweet Home Alabama definitely crossed my mind. I was like, oh, yeah, that's definitely on my list
because you know
now.
what, when I was watching it, I was like, oh wait, oh I should have said that movie then. And
We got time. According to Paul, we've got tens of thousands to work our way through. So we'll be here all
oh yeah,
night.
there are tons of movies. Well, and actually one of the movies I was going to say, I was like, oh, she probably hasn't seen it, and I don't know even know if you could find it. It was a small movie. I think it was from the 90s or maybe the early 2000s
Mhm.
called Playing by Heart.
Oh, I feel like I know that one. Why do I know that one?
And
Tell me about it.
it's a series of stories. It's about five different storylines. Jenna Rollins is in it as well with Sean Connery. They have a little
I think
storyline
I have
going.
seen that.
Angelina Jolie and
I'm gonna
Ryan
look it up.
Philippe have a storyline going. Gillian Anderson of X Files and Jon Stewart of The Daily Show, and all these stories wound up interweaving to
I
a
was gonna say I can see
culmination.
the cover in my mind, and I have the right cover. Yeah,
Yeah,
we will definitely have to do that one. That
Playing
yeah.
by Heart. I I just enjoy that movie, and
Oh,
it
this
has
is
some
the
great
song that
songs
I was
too.
thinking of. I wonder if this is the same one. So Paul dropped this in for us. Thanks, Paul. Paul
Is
says there were two versions of the same song, "Make You Feel My Love," were used in this film. The first was sung by Garth Brooks, and then the second by Trisha Yearwood. Um,
aren't they married?
they are married. So this actually makes me crazy angry. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna say this.
Oh,
So
okay.
Garth Brooks
Uh-oh.
was
Have
Garth
a
Brooks
rant.
was my here's my Katie rant. So you may or may not know this about me, but I grew up as a huge fan of country music. My first concert was Johnny Cash, and my second was Garth Brooks, and I like still to this day adore all things Garth Brooks. But he's got like a whole bunch of songs that like in the era when I like was obsessed with his music and saw him in concert a few times, he was married at like and had a family, and like and a lot of these songs, if you listen to the lyrics, were like about his relationship with his wife, who he
Mhm.
then cheated on and left for Trisha Yearwood. And so
Oh my God.
now like I've seen him in concert fairly recently, like in the last 5 years or so, and he now always goes on concert and tour with Trisha, and she's a phenomenal singer. Like if we can put aside that my feelings for that, she's a great singer.
Right.
But every time she comes out and they do a couple of songs, there's a song that he does that like basically is about like seeing another woman, and then he decides that he's like not going to leave his wife for this other woman. And I like every time I hear the lyrics, I'm just like, but you left
But
her.
you did.
Yeah, so his songs being
But
in this movie just felt a little bit ironic to me, and I even though I adore him and I love this song, and I like and her version and Trisha's version of it is also fantastic. There was just in the back of my head a voice of just like, but you're kind of a jerk. And I feel it in the very public, a very public breakup and divorce, and they according to Paul, they've been together since 2005. So I have 20 years of me not getting over it and still not over it.
It still kind of sticks with you.
Yeah, still.
Now there
still
is,
sticks with me.
what's the song When You Love Someone? That was I think that closed out the movie.
Yeah, that one was in
It was
it.
a Bryan Adams song, and
Yeah.
I think that one actually charted or got some airplay outside of this movie.
Yeah. I mean, every single song is fantastic. I guess if you don't like country
Because
music,
he
maybe
is
you wouldn't,
Canadian,
but-
correct?
Mhm, he sure
Uh-huh.
is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, there. This
Because
one
I
might-
can't be on the VHS Club podcast and not make a Canadian connection, even though
true.
I've never been to Canada. Don't shoot me.
Yet. You haven't been yet.
Yet. I'm sorry.
There you go.
I got to get that growth mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
Yet. I've not been to Canada
There's potential.
yet.
There's potential. It's not all that far. It's a doable trip. We're neighbors, more or less. Josh says we've convinced Josh. He's gonna watch it at some point. He's finishing up Avatar, then he'll move into
Awesome.
it. Val says she's gonna watch it, but she's still very upset that Gina Rollins does not make this in the movie.
That we've given away some plot points, but hopefully we've explored some of the interesting aspects so that you can look for just those relationships and those performances. Because again, Harry Connick Jr. maybe he hasn't won any acting awards like he has for his music, but I think he gives a fine performance in this film.
Yeah,
definitely
he's deserving of it for sure.
Mhm.
For sure. Hello, welcome. So a shout out for our coffee mugs. I will say I had a little bit of fun playing with some of the AI tools, and I turned Nat and I into 8-bit versions of ourselves and added some things to the merch shop. So if anyone's looking for some silliness, you can swing over to our website, the VHSClubPod.com, and click through to see our silly merch. But yeah, I'm glad you like our coffee mug. I appreciate it. Paul says it is When You Love Someone. Yeah, that song is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Well, we've reached the time of the evening where we are about to give our ratings, and I have not yet asked Kathy for her rating of this movie. What do you think?
And and again, as much as I love this movie, I don't think it's a 5 or even a 4 tater. I actually think it's only a 3, maybe a 3.5. I don't know if I can give it 4 whole taters.
I really need to design a half because we don't easily have a half to be able to show on screen.
Okay.
But I do agree with you. I think so. I also struggled. I had it as a 3, and then I think I'm still sitting at 4 because I added a 4, and then I was but somewhere in between. So I'm with you. I think I'm at a 3.5.
Okay, because and I knew that question was going to come because I listened to the show.
You have seen that we rate the movies, yeah.
Exactly, and I'm thinking, what do I give it? And I thought a 3 was too low, but a 4 was too much. So yeah.
Well, Danes has a 2, but I know for a fact that you have not seen this movie because you walked in the other day and told me, I don't think I've seen this movie. So you can't rate this one.
So yeah, that's an invalid rating.
That rating is irrelevant.
And I don't know what emoji you can use instead of a potato for this movie, because I don't know whether there's an emoji for
hope,
a stuffed squirrel.
Yeah.
And again, you have to watch the movie to know that reference. So I'm not going to give anything away.
Maybe a
Val.
scaredy cat.
Oh yes, scaredy cat. Yeah,
you can rate this in scaredy cats. Oh man, Gina. I desperately, and maybe it's just pure Canadian kid watching movies about the States, but I would like to have a southern small town family that is neurotic and crazy and has a front porch that I can go and visit for a little bit. That is just goals for me. So if anyone has slightly
I'm
crazy
only in North
southern
Carolina.
family,
I'm not deep south, but
you can count.
we got crazy here.
Oh, good. I'll come by.
We got quirky and crazy.
Do you have a porch and some sweet tea? I'll come by for a porch and some sweet tea.
You know what?
I would like it.
My house is so small. I do have a small back porch, so
Awesome. All right, I'm there. I'm there for the experience. Yeah, there's just a
and yes,
charm
but
about
I
it.
will tell you the sweet tea is amazing. And when I go up north, I can't even order what they call sweet tea is not an iced tea. It's not the same.
No,
I'm going to tell you right now. You
it's
got
not
to
the
be down
same.
here.
Well, my parents lived in Tennessee for a couple of years and picked up the ability to make really good sweet tea. So
Oh, nice,
so I
nice.
have the same feeling when I order sweet tea, and I'm like, no, this is not it. This is wrong.
Yeah, you're doing it wrong.
Well, we already gave away our rating, but here it is. Here's imagine it as 3.5. Here, I'll do what I normally do. I'll put like half over here at the bottom. We're at 3.5. I don't see any ratings here, but I think most people who are hanging out with us live haven't yet seen it, except for Dane, who we know is a
Well,
liar. So the
Paul
rest.
gave it 3, so
Oh yeah. Oh Paul. Oh yeah. I got. Yeah. I only see cat orange whistling, cat orange whistling, cat orange whistling. That
that's a
is 3.
scaredy cat.
That is 3. That is 3. Great job. Well, thank you so much for joining, and thank you for suggesting this one because I really had a blast rewatching it. So it's going to be a fun ride. I have some fun episodes coming up. Hopefully we'll have Josh back and Kathy back, and I've talked my friend Jeff into actually 2 Jeffs. I have 2 different Jeffs joining over the next little bit, and I know a few of you have reached out and told me you would come on the show and join me. So thank you so much for that. So yeah, keep an eye out for upcoming movies. I know we've got some slapsticks and some more heartfelt
And,
and a couple kid movies. So all around fun.
and if I could just give a shout out, because I know my brother is
Yeah, I
also
see him
in
here.
the live
Hey,
studio
Kenny.
audience. Kenny Walker Jr. He does spoken word and all kinds of great things on YouTube. But we do a podcast
Hmm.
together on Sunday nights where we talk all things pop culture. So it's Pop Kulture Kids with coming from the North and the South, me from North Carolina, Kenny from South Jersey. So check us out on Sunday nights at 8.
I love it. And if you are listening or watching later, the links for that and all the information about it are in the show notes or in the description. So definitely swing over and check that out. I so appreciate you. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight. Always make it fun.
Thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun.
Oh, we will see you all next time. Thanks, everyone.
Kitty and Nat, walking the scene